right now escaping death.
Get everybody out of there.
A small plane dive bombs from the sky and explodes into a local Publix.
Chaos between aisles 6, 5, 4, and 3. It's just wreckage, debris everywhere.
Tonight, WESH-TV has team coverage as federal investigators piece through the rubble.
New video of the devastation.
And dramatic survivor accounts.
Next thing I know, I just felt like somebody or something had just picked me up off the ground.
WESH-TV News at 5 starts right now.
First at 5, a crash, an inferno, and chaos.
Shoppers run for their lives after a small plane spirals out of control and slams right through the roof of a local Publix.
Miraculously, everyone survived. A gaping hole is left in the roof of the store on International Speedway Boulevard. A look from Chopper 2 shows charred wreckage and scorched merchandise.
Breaking tonight, federal investigators have pulled out the engine of that plane and are sifting through the damage, trying to figure out what caused last night's wild crash. Good evening. I'm Jim Payne.
I'm Martha Sagowski. NTSB says there's not much left of the plane. 911 callers knew the gravity of the situation instantly.
Someone's on fire in Publix, and oh God, I'm so.
It's okay. What's on fire?
A person.
A person.
Right. And the building's on fire too.
Okay, get everybody out.
Okay, we gotta go.
5 people were injured, the pilot and his passenger, and 3 people in the store. The experimental plane is registered to Illinois attorney Kim Presbury. He suffered third-degree burns. Thomas Rhodes was the other man on board. The store is closed indefinitely as this investigation unfolds.
WESH-TV has team coverage. Chopper Dan McCarthy explains why this was the best possible outcome in a worst-case scenario. Dave McDaniel has stories from witnesses and survivors. But we start with Claire Metz and breaking information from the NTSB. Claire?
Yeah, Jim, we just talked with NTSB investigators, and they really gave us an update about what's going on. Chopper 2 has been above it all this afternoon, so this gives you a real bird's eye view of the recovery effort. The plane debris that was inside is about 80% out now, leaving just 20% in there, and they believe their salvage effort will be complete today. Then they will take all of this to a facility in Groveland, Florida, where they will try and put it all together, piece it all together, try and figure out what went wrong here. There is not much of this plane left at all. What remains of the aircraft is being pulled out the front door of the store. That's the charred engine attached to the prop. And among the most critical finds of the NTSB's recovery effort, they really only have 3 big pieces to work with.
Pretty much the engine, the propeller, and part of the vertical fin are the largest pieces.
Chopper 2 flew over Publix this morning with a clear view of the cavity created when an experimental plane crashed through layers of roof right into the store. NTSB investigators, hands-on inside, paint another vivid picture.
It's on the ground. It's between 2 aisles. The majority of the wreckage spans across 2 aisles. However, several additional aisles have been compromised by fire.
The plane was a kit-built experimental. This is an image of a Sea-Wind 3000 intact, owned by prominent Illinois attorney Kim Presbury. It's unclear if Presbury was the pilot or his friend Thomas Rhodes, both critically burned. With so little of it remaining, reconstructing this crash will be a puzzle.
It was an extremely hot fire, and that's basically just disintegrated.
We don't know how much fuel was aboard. The Sea-Wind holds 110 gallons, but the crash sent a fireball through the store. Thick black smoke enveloped it, as you can see from video sent to us by one of our viewers. The sheriff's helicopter was on scene moments after the crash with stunning images, too. We don't know if the store is jeopardized, but the mess will keep it closed for some time to come.
Looks like a fire. As you can imagine, there's a lot of soot, there's a lot of water on the floor, there's damaged products.
And the pieces of the very damaged plane emerging now. We've learned of the survivors, the pilot and co-pilot. One was commercially rated, one was rated for private planes, so these are experienced men. We also learned they flew into DeLand on Saturday, and they may have been going to Daytona Beach to have their avionics checked, their radios checked. Reporting live in DeLand, Volusia County, Claire Metz, WESH-TV News.
And Claire, did investigators give a timetable on when we could have some definitive answers here?
Well, take a look from Chopper 2 again, Martha, because you can just see how intricate this process is. However, NTSB tells us they may have a preliminary report, a preliminary investigation of what went wrong within 1 to 2 weeks. But as far as a final determination, 6 to 8 months, Martha.
Claire Metz reporting live from DeLand tonight. Thanks, Claire. And for people simply trying to do some evening shopping, the sights and sounds of a plane crashing into the supermarket roof sent shockwaves throughout the store.
WESH-TV's Dave McDaniel continues our team coverage with the people who scrambled to get to safety. Dave.
You know, Jim, some of the people described it as a major crash, but some actually said it sounded like more of a thud. But universally, they all said that once they saw the size of the fire, they knew this was a serious issue. You see this, smoke pouring from the gaping hole in the roof. Then you imagine you're Bobby McCormick, a couple of aisles over with his 14-year-old daughter.
Just kind of out of the blue, you hear a loud thud.
A plane crashed into it?
The person taking the cell phone video wasn't the only one stunned.
The next thing I know, I just felt like somebody or something had just picked me up off the ground and threw me forward. And I guess that was the explosion.
Lisa Cordova dropped off her child at the YMCA. She thinks she was walking away from the impact zone, but
just hit the ground, hit my shoulder, knocked my head.
Her instincts, fear, and getting out of that store.
Knowing that I needed to get out of there because I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know if something else was going to explode. I didn't know if there were bombs placed throughout the store. You just don't know.
Stetson student Brendan Beitler posted a very cheery photo of himself from his hospital bed, despite being treated for leg burns.
And we saw the ceiling tiles falling down from about the middle of the store, and some electrical type fire and arcs and flashes in the ceiling. And
McCormick says he didn't know what to make of it at first, but the fire made it clear they had to get out and fast.
The whole entire middle of the store was basically on fire, and it was intense.
You know, some of the folks we talked with today said even though it's been a few hours since all of this went down last evening, they felt they were still kind of in shock today. Jim?
And Dave, did anyone comment about the Publix employees, how they handled it all?
Well, let's pop back up to Chopper 2 in HD and we'll show you again. Look at the size of the hole in this building and think about how sudden and how violent all this was. And several of the people commented that the Publix employees, despite the suddenness and the violence of all of this, they thought they were extremely professional, clearing people out of the store as soon as possible. And once they got the store cleared, making sure that nobody went back inside. Jim, Martha?
Dave McDaniel live for us in DeLand. Dave, thanks. The plane that crashed is an experimental amphibious aircraft called the Sea-Wind 3000. This is what it looks like. The plane seats 4 people and has a tank that carries 110 gallons of fuel. The experimental aircraft does not have black boxes on board, but investigators will look at its GPS tracker.
WESH-2's Dan McCarthy was flying in Chopper 2 moments after last night's crash. He says everything that could have gone wrong did. I spoke to him this afternoon about what was going through the pilot's mind when things went so wrong.
Well, the pilot was taking off runway 23 at DeLand Airport, and he was taking off to the southwest. And you can see here, a pilot would take off, normally climb out, but this is by far the worst case scenario for a pilot. You're low, you're slow, and most likely full of fuel, and now you have an engine failure.
And what are you looking for right now if you're a pilot and you know that you have this catastrophe?
This is exactly what he was looking at. He's at the end of the runway. He's too low, too slow, and in a sense too heavy to turn around and make it back to the airport, which would be the ideal situation. So basically what you're taught is looking from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock out of the windshield, you have about a half-mile glide ratio. And this is what the pilot was looking at. And you can see trees, houses, warehouses, trees over here, a parking lot full of cars and people. But wait a second, what's this? You got a warehouse building here and another building right here, and that's exactly what he was looking at. And the only thing is, I'll be great if I can put it down on that roof and the roof supports the weight of the aircraft.
And clearly that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
He avoided worst case scenario for the other people on the ground.
Yes, this is a terrible, terrible accident, but this was the best case scenario of a worst case accident.
WESH-2 viewers are sending us photos they snapped of the crash site. Check this one out. The person who sent us this picture says it was taken just seconds after the plane went down. Another viewer uploaded this photo of firefighters dousing the flames. You can see more of these pictures in the U Local section at WESH.com. Also on our website, listen to the dramatic 911 calls in their entirety. Check out our slideshow of images taken from the scene last night and much more of that video showing the damage. It's all inside WESH.com.
Late breaking at 5, a Brevard County grand jury has just indicted 2 suspects accused of murdering a sheriff's deputy during a traffic stop. A judge has ordered dash cam video of the shooting should be kept secret. WESH 2's Dan Billow is at the state attorney's office. And Dan, did the grand jury take long?
No, Martha, not long at all. Less than a day to return first-degree murder indictments against Brandon Bradley and Andrea Kirchner. The evidence against them is very strong, especially Bradley, the alleged shooter. That evidence is video of the shooting itself. A judge has ordered that to be kept secret from the public for now.
It would be very difficult, if not impossible, to get a jury here locally if that type of information was put out.
The shooting of Deputy Barbara Pill came at point-blank range. The murderer fired 8 shots, hitting her in the head, shoulder, and vest in front of at least one horrified witness.
Melbourne 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Oh my God, somebody just shot this cop in front of my house.
Sources say the shooting is clearly shown in awful detail on the in-car video from Pill's patrol car. Today, a grand jury met to consider whether to indict the suspect for murder. The proceedings were secret, but presumably the grand jurors are watching that video. It's the central piece of evidence. A judge has ruled that the video must otherwise be kept secret, while it can be shown to the grand jury and to the jury that hears the cases against Brandon Bradley and co-suspect Andrea Kirchner. The judge fears it would go viral on the internet if publicly released, even though it is not likely that mainstream media would show the murder.
But the rest of the world would just, they could do whatever they wanted to with it, and it clearly would not be a very pretty sight.
And here you see the state attorney handing to the judge those true bills, the indictments about a half hour ago of Bradley and Kirchner for first-degree murder. So again, that video will be shown to the jury that hears the murder case eventually, but the judge does not want that out in the public so that the people who will eventually become jurors would see it before the trial. We're live in Viera. Dan Billow, WESH 2 News.
A retired local elementary school teacher has pleaded guilty in federal court to traveling hundreds of miles to have sex with children. Dale Cassena is accused of flying to Kentucky in February of last year to meet the mother of 9 and 11-year-old girls for sex. The 60-year-old retired Orange County teacher made the trip while out on bond for local child porn charges. Sentencing is set for June 14th. New trouble for a local boxing star.
Hector Macho Camacho is under arrest here in Orlando. What he's accused of doing to a child. That's next at 5.
Then the job of mayor of Orlando is on the line tonight. Why this latest election could be very expensive for the city. Tony.
And Jim, right now we continue to watch this little disturbance up towards Tallahassee. May pull in some moisture across central Florida. While out west, big-time tornado outbreak. Martha, more on that story straight ahead.
And breaking news in Texas, remarkable video of a tornado tearing up everything in its path. You're watching WESH 2 News at 5.
Former world champion boxer and Orlando resident Hector Macho Camacho Sr. now facing a child abuse charge.
Deputies say he turned himself in at the Orange County Jail last night. Camacho is accused of getting violent with his 12-year-old son in a dispute over money.
WESH 2's Bob Keeling joins us live from the courthouse. And Bob, can you tell us about the charge?
Well, Jim, court papers show that the 49-year-old former world boxing champ who fought the likes of Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran went into his ex-wife's home on John Young Parkway and started demanding money. Now, he told Camacho's 13-year-old son told investigators that Camacho Sr. came into the room, started trashing it, and then demanded to know where his black bag was with $4,000 in it. When his son said he didn't know, investigators say Camacho picked up the boy who was 12 at the time, he's now 13, picked him up by the neck, slammed him down, and stomped on his leg. Investigators say they later found marks on the child's neck. He also complained of leg pain. Now, it's interesting to note that this incident involving the former world boxing champion took place in March of last year. And after reviewing some inconsistencies, the state attorney's office in November went ahead and pressed the case. And according to court records, that's when this arrest warrant was issued. Then finally, Camacho Sr. last night turning himself in at the Orange County Jail. bonded out quickly on $5,000 bond. This is a third-degree felony charge that he's now facing. We did some research and found out that Camacho Sr. has been arrested on felony charges twice before, going back to 1995 here in Orange County. Both of those cases were later dropped. Reporting live at the Orange County Courthouse, I'm Bob Keeling, WESH 2 News.
Orlando residents have less than 2 hours left to vote in local elections before the polls close.
The mayor's job and 4 city commission seats are at stake. WESH 2 News was out earlier today at a couple of the precincts. The traffic was light and voters say they were in and out in just minutes.
If turnout continues to be light, this could be a very expensive election. WESH 2 political reporter Greg Fox is here now. And Greg, city leaders decided to have their own election date.
They did, and city leaders could have decided to hold elections in January during the presidential preference primary or in March, along with other cities in Orange County. But because of uncertainty about the election calendar, they decided to go at their own date, and that will cost taxpayers more money. First, the major race on tap today. Voters citywide will decide if Buddy Dyer gets another 4 years as mayor. He's been on the job since '03. His challengers, city commissioner and local attorney Phil Diamond, local business owner Ken Mulvaney, and Michael Cantone, who was most recently the political director for Organize Now. In addition to the mayor's race, voters are going to the polls to elect 4 city commissioners. 3 of the seats are held by incumbents and all have challengers. The District 1 seat, being vacated by Diamond, is open and has 4 people fighting to win that post. Turnout is very light today, and latest figures from the election supervisor put the total from the polls, early and absentee voting, at just 15% as of 4 o'clock today. That has some voters believing the more than $200,000 expense for this election is not worth it, and others angry that their neighbors did not come out to vote.
Do you think city leaders would have been more prudent to save that money?
I think it would have been much more prudent to save that money. Considering everything they're cutting, it seems like nobody knows how to balance a budget without cutting services, which is the wrong way.
It is disappointing. I know there's a lot of issues and things going on in Orlando that needs to be fixed, so I think it's important that we come out and vote.
Had the city piggybacked on the presidential preference primary, the cost to taxpayers would likely have been less than $20,000. Polls remain open until 7 o'clock tonight. If any one candidate fails to get 50% plus 1, there will be a runoff between the top 2 finishers May 1st. Jim?
Greg, thanks. Be sure to tune in to WESH 2 News tonight to find out who wins the big local races. We'll also have all of those results for you on WESH.com.
Late breaking tonight, must-see video of a massive tornado barreling down on part of Texas. Take a look at this. The twister tossed 18-wheelers through the air as it hit a couple of towns just south of Dallas. Tornadoes also caused some damage within Dallas city limits. We saw people outside walking around just moments after the storm had passed. No word if anyone was hurt, and the damage is widespread.
You might remember a few years back, they were able to capture video of a tornado in Minneapolis, and meteorologists learned a lot from that particular event.
Yeah, when you fly around a tornado, you see multiple vortices, little circular structures. Now, the intriguing thing about this is just a short time ago, Jim and Martha, we had a very dangerous tornado very close to Arlington, Texas. That is the home of the Texas Rangers. They were supposed to be in action tonight. As I'm understanding it now, they have an exhibition game that is probably going to be canceled because of all the debris in and around the area. Arlington, Texas mayor, state of emergency now the next 7 days. American Airlines, remember, Dallas-Fort Worth, this is the hub of American Airlines. All of the evening flights have been canceled. Here is the very latest line and look in on that severe weather now in and around Arlington, Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, and the worst of it now is passing just to the east of Dallas, Texas, on over towards the Arklatex here. So we'll have to watch this throughout the evening hours. Looks like it's going to be a busy evening now across northeast Texas. All right, let's head back to the maps. Now I wanted to show you our satellite radar. There is an intriguing little feature right here. Right over Tallahassee, that is beginning to pull in a little bit of moisture across northwestern sections of our viewing area. So we'll have to watch Marion County here. We're going to switch it on over now to the Doppler radar out of Tampa Bay. You can already see some of that moisture just northwest of Cedar Key, and even a few showers now popping up right here. Here is Ocala. There's Ocklawaha, the Villages. A little shower now popping on up, I think, out ahead of that little disturbance there over I-10. While that's going on, we had the East Coast sea breeze. So later on this evening, we'll have to wait and see if there's going to be enough moisture around to wring out a couple of mid-evening showers. But I think the main energy is going to be up here. Note the afternoon highs now. Many 90-plus degree readings out there. In fact, Orlando 91, making it the 23rd consecutive day where temperatures at above normal. And tomorrow will be no different. 89 degrees with afternoon showers and storms. So east winds along the coast making it feel a little cooler. Beach bound, but through the interior, sticky right through 10 o'clock, still at 80. Late night fog will once again be an issue. Overnight lows fairly uniform, 60 to about 65 degrees. The pattern now for late tonight and tomorrow, warm southwest winds. Afternoon showers and storms get going. Could be briefly heavy right there along the immediate coastline of Brevard and Volusia counties. Look at these afternoon highs through the interior. Close to 90, but not there, with a few more clouds and afternoon showers and isolated storms. I think that will more than likely keep us below the 90-degree mark. Afternoon showers and storms, coverage at about 30%. Noontime temperature of 82 after the morning fog. As we get into Thursday and then on into Friday, with the disturbance coming on by, rain chances going up. The good news for the holiday weekend, rain chances going down and very low humidity.
Ahead at 5, a deadly shooting rampage.
They stood up in the class and just started firing.
Witnesses describe the horrifying scene, and investigators release new information on the gunman.
Then beefed up baggage fees.
A major local airliner rolls out a pricey new charge for carry-on bags.
Plus, hear the panic.
Oh my God, an airplane just went into the public. I hear the sirens already. Oh my God.
Coming up, the most dramatic 911 calls following the local Publix plane crash.
This is WESH 2 News at 5.
Tonight we are learning more about the man accused in a deadly shooting rampage at a California Christian college.
The gunshots captured on cell phone video. Police say the suspected shooter, 43-year-old One Go, is a former student at Oikos University in Oakland, expelled from the school earlier this year. Investigators think he was targeting a female administrator yesterday, but when she wasn't there, he just opened fire.
Stood up in the class and just started firing. Shot one guy in the chest, shot another person, and once you know, he just started firing like crazy.
We heard a couple more shots ring out from the building, and I guess police fired back or something. So we all got on the ground.
7 people died in the shooting. The 3 surviving victims are out of the hospital. Police say Go does not show much remorse, but he is cooperating.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney is out of the hospital tonight, 10 days after having a heart transplant. Cheney's family released a statement thanking the doctors and the donor who made the heart available. Cheney had been on the cardiac transplant list for nearly 2 years. The 71-year-old has suffered at least 5 heart attacks since 1978. A plane plummets from the sky and crashes into a local Publix.
We continue our team coverage next at 5:30 with late-breaking information just in from federal investigators. Plus,
Publix and a plane just crashed into the store.
We're on the way out there, ma'am. Are you injured?
No, I'm not injured, but I'm scared.
Here's some of the most gripping 911 calls made moments after last night's crash.
Local, live, late breaking. This is WESH 2 News at 5 with Martha Sigalski, Jim Payne, and weather with Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi. This is WESH 2 News at 5 in high definition.
Late breaking right now at 5:30. The NTSB still on the scene following a terrifying plane crash into land.
Shoppers ran out of the Publix on International Speedway Boulevard last night when an experimental aircraft plummeted through the roof.
Take a look. The crash left this gaping hole. Inside, you can see groceries and debris scattered all over the place. 5 people were injured, but everyone survived.
Tonight, crews are working to get the wreckage out of the store and clean up all the debris.
Now, they're going to take what's left of the plane to a location where they can pour over every inch of the aircraft. WESH 2's Claire Metz joins us live now. And Claire, investigators have a lot of work ahead of them.
They do, Jim, but I'll tell you what, the NTSB is not messing around. They are moving very quickly, very efficiently to get all of the debris out of the Publix behind me and into that facility in Groveland so they can start piecing this together. Take a look at some of the images we shot just a short while ago as portions of the plane were coming out. Only 3 big pieces are still intact, including the engine with the prop attached to it. We also understand the propeller's in good shape, the tail of that Experimental plane also in decent shape. About 80% has been pulled out so far, but it's that last 20% that's going to be a bugger because so much of it is just tiny, small debris, fine dust. They have to wear respiratory masks and hard hats when they're in there. Listen to the NTSB investigator just moments ago.
And we're digging through the debris for cables for the flight control. We're doing a preliminary cursory look at the engine. There's no obvious external signs of failure on the engine.
No obvious signs, he said. That does not mean the engine didn't fail. That is still to be determined. Chopper 2 was over the grocery store earlier today looking at that 20 by 30 crevice in the roof. Unbelievable. You can see clear through to the bottom with the plane debris and grocery products strewn all around. It may have been because the plane had to go through so many layers of roof that, in fact, the pilot and co-pilot did survive all this. We understand they're still critical. One of the two is a commercially rated pilot. The other is privately rated. Both experienced. We just don't know what went wrong. We're hoping NTSB can sort it out. Reporting live in DeLand, Volusia County, Claire Metz, WESH-2 News.
Within minutes of the crash, the 911 call started pouring in. WESH-2's Ix Diaz reports many people knew exactly what happened.
911, where's your emergency? Hi, I think a plane just crashed in the Publix in DeLand.
Seconds after a small plane crashed into this DeLand Publix, the 911 calls started coming in.
Hello, this is 911.
Everybody out of there.
Hello?
Hey, a plane just crashed into the roof of Publix on Woodland.
Which Publix and Woodland?
It's on fire. It went through the roof into the Publix.
One man was so upset he could barely get his words out.
Oh my God, an airplane just went into the Publix. I hear the sirens already. Oh my God. Okay, just relax. Just relax. We're on the way, okay?
Another caller reported a person on fire.
911, someone's on fire in Publix. And, oh God, I'm so...
It's okay. What's on fire?
A person.
A person?
Right. And the building's on fire, too.
Wow. Okay, get everybody out.
Okay, we gotta go.
One woman described the plane as it went down.
I'm sitting here in the Lowe's parking lot, and the engine sounded like it was, like sputtering.
Okay.
And the next thing you know, he went down nose first.
Okay, did you see any flame explosion?
Oh, yes, black smoke all over the place.
You can listen to all of the 911 calls right now on our website, WESH.com. In the newsroom, Ix Diaz, WESH-2 News.
A woman tells WESH-2 what it was like to be inside that Publix the moment the plane crashed in through the roof. Lisa Cordova says it looked like a scene from a war movie. She had minor injuries and was released from the hospital this morning. She had just finished her shopping and was headed towards the checkout lanes when the roof started shaking. At first, she thought it was a tornado, but then came the explosion.
The next thing I know, I just felt like somebody or something had just picked me up off the ground and threw me forward. And I guess that was the explosion. And then I just hit the ground, hit my shoulder, knocked my head. I was like,
she said one of the things she will never forget is seeing the young man who we now know is Stenson University student Brendan Beeler coming running towards her, screaming for help as his leg was on fire.
WESH-2 viewers are weighing in on our Facebook page. Pat writes, every day is a gift. Here's the proof. You never, ever know what is around the corner. And Deborah lives 3 blocks away from the Publix. She writes, my thoughts and prayers go to all of my favorite employees who were on duty Monday night. You can leave your comments on the WESH-2 Facebook page. We have more dramatic footage of that Publix plane crash on our website. There's also a slideshow of viewer photos inside the ULocal section of WESH.com.
The man who refers to himself as a monster is facing fewer charges tonight. George Fout is accused of molesting at least 6 children in his Ocala home. This morning, the state attorney's office decided to drop 2 counts in one of the cases. He still faces charges in 5 other cases. His next hearing is scheduled for June 29th. Federal agents spent a second day in Sanford as they continue to investigate the shooting of Trayvon Martin.
The agents were back in the neighborhood where Trayvon was shot and killed. They're trying to figure out if the shooting was racially motivated. The federal investigation arose out of protest about the way local police handled the incident. So far, George Zimmerman has not been charged in the shooting, which he claims was an act of self-defense. Cities around Florida are struggling to figure out what they would do if the Stand Your Ground law comes into play in their town. As WESH-2's Gail Pascal Brown explains, city leaders in Ocala don't want to be caught off guard.
And as soon as we find out that it's stand your ground, though, the handcuffs have to come off. The person has to be told that he's free to leave.
Ocala police explained the stand your ground law that took effect in Florida in October of 2005. People across the country are calling on states to repeal it in wake of the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer, shot and killed a Miami teenager during All-Star Weekend. Zimmerman said he was attacked by Martin and shot in self-defense. Trayvon Martin was unarmed. State Representative Dennis Baxley of Ocala, who enacted the law, says it's a good and clear law.
I meant for us to stand on the side of law-abiding citizens, that if they're attacked, they can protect themselves from harm. There's nothing in the statute that authorizes pursuit and confrontation.
Most citizens speaking today in council chambers support the stand your ground law.